It's time to get your morning started with the news you need to know.
News update.
This is what's trending with DJ and PK. Hashtag NFL.
Here's Debo in motion. Jet sweep handoff to Debo. A block and a dive for the goal line. And he's up on the goal line and in. Touchdown! San Francisco, and this one counts. They're not taking it back. Ayuk behind Bell left. They run Mason off the left side. A cutback run. Touchdown! San Francisco!
We gotta go prepare, get better every week, every day, every rep. Truly, because we're not there yet. They whooped our ass today, and that's the reality of it. And we got to find a way to get better. You know, great teams will bounce back from this, and that's what we plan to do.
There's highlights from the Monday Night Football game. Garrett Wilson's assessment as the Jets got blown out. They liked that first quarter. I don't think they like the next three so much. The Niners took control of that game in the second quarter, and it was over, PK. No Christian McCaffrey, no problem.
Well, McCaffrey, you never know when he's going to be available. He's missed a ton of games. I mean, it's clear that the Giants aren't any good, and now the Jets. Just seems like the Jets again in the New York area. The two teams have been just wallowing for years and years now. It's only one game. Maybe they can get it going, but they did not look good. Maybe San Francisco's just that much better. I thought Purdy looked excellent. Just the way he was just moving the ball offensively.
That carries weight from you because you've always wondered if it's him or the guys around him. So for you to compliment him, and it is hard to pull apart because he's got really good, even with McCaffrey out, he's got really talented skill players.
Yeah, and he was getting everybody involved. I don't remember every single game he's played, just in his 3+ years or 2+ years, but it just looked, he has complete command of the offense. I don't like the phrase game manager. I like game controller, and I thought that he just controlled the game.
I thought it was primarily about the ground game, not about the passing game, but I get your point because in a few key situations when they did need to move the ball through the air, I thought he made some difficult throws, and they were on the money.
Yeah.
And the pocket wasn't perfect, and sometimes the guy was wide open, but sometimes he wasn't, and everything was breaking the Niners' way those last three quarters. They punted on their first possession and then scored on 8 straight possessions. A lot of field goals in there, but given the way their defense was dominating the Jets, that was fine. And shout out to the undrafted free agent Jordan Marson, 147 yards and a touchdown.
That's not a good shout out, though.
Because
it just devalues the running back position even more, and these guys aren't going to make as much money. Why take one in the first day? Why take one in the second day?
Because there's always a back there, and their success depends so much on whether the guys in front of them open holes. And the guys in front of him did open holes, and he ran through them.
It's a nice shout out for him individually, but for the position overall, I think it weakens their bargaining power.
That reinforces what GMs have been thinking for the last 10 or 20 years, right? We'll get a good offensive line, and I can plug a running back in and get a productive game. In this case, a very productive game. So best case scenario for the Jets and all those long-suffering football fans in the tri-state area is the Niners are a Super Bowl contender and the Jets are a playoff contender, and that's just the gap between the two things.
I don't know what they are.
Right. And the other story is the Jets are a 5-win team. Other NFL news, and a lot of the big injury news around the NFL involves guys who played their college football here in Utah. Puka Nacua, Orem High, BYU, Rams, injured reserve, re-aggravated a PCL sprain in his knee. With the new rules on injured reserve, newish the last few years, he's out 4 games. It was a time injured reserve, you were done for the year, and when Kyle Van Noy went on it when he was doing our show, he was out for 8 games, but as rules as they stand now, Puka's got to miss at least 4. The Packers will not put Jordan Love on injured reserve with his own left MCL sprain, and we've heard 3, 4, or 6 weeks, but that suggests 4 or less. The team will start Malik Willis at quarterback while Love recovers. Roma Dunze in Chicago is week to week after his own MCL sprain. Body camera footage. Now to the legal stuff you love so much, PK. The body camera footage of Miami Dolphins wide receiver Tyreek Hill's detainment by Miami-Dade police officers showed the star receiver being forcibly removed from his vehicle approximately 1 minute after the officer who pulled Hill over for speeding left their motorcycle. Hill was handcuffed before being released. It didn't look like a couple of those officers were looking to de-escalate the situation. One of them in particular was pounding on the door and shouting obscenities. I was curious which one of those guys got put on administrative duty immediately, but they haven't spelled everything out there yet. Browns quarterback Deshaun Watson has been accused of sexual assault and battery in October of 2020. This is separate from the other lawsuits that we've heard about. Watson served an 11-game suspension in 2022. The Browns and the NFL not commenting on the latest lawsuit. DJ and PK.
Hashtag BYU.
We're still using today to kind of get a good feel for where they're at. It's going to be doubtful for this game this weekend, but we're hoping, and you just never know. People heal differently, and today's going to be a really important day for us to see where we're going to be at.
BYU coach Kalani Sitake announced the starting running back L.J. Martin and the top backup Hinkley Ropati are doubtful to play with BYU at Wyoming. No timeline for their return, but seems unlikely we'll see them in Laramie.
What a huge advantage the Cowboys have now. They told us some players may not play. How can BYU even compete? You can't do that.
You can, and he did.
What are they thinking? That's outrageous.
They're not thinking what Kyle Whittingham is thinking.
That's a competitive disadvantage to the nth degree. You can't even put a number on it. NTH. That's not even literally a number. This is just shocking development.
That was good. Did the line move? I didn't check.
The line better move some holes. Whoever's running back is, that they'll be able to get the yardage that they need. Yes, they're going to have to get a movement and a push and all that.
Well, that's a good point, but that's not the line I was talking about.
Well,
but you're right.
Because you're a gambler. I'm
there
not.
It is.
I'm a rambler.
Sing
I
it.
was born a rambling man.
BYU's now favored by 10. It went from 8.5 to 10. The Cougs pulling away.
You know, they're counting on this depth that they had because they're 2-0. They should go to 3-0. And I think that should raise the expectations on the season. And people will say, well, wait a second here, man. This is what they had last year. I know. But last year they didn't have a quarterback with experience. They say they're deeper and they got more running backs, blah, blah, blah. So now it's being tested. And we'll see what they can do. They lose the Wyoming game. It undercuts everything they've done to this point.
I believe that last thing. I don't think I'm changing my expectations based on the 3-0 start because I thought if they were going to get to 6 or 7 wins, they needed the 3-0 start.
Oh, it increases my expectations. I totally am changing.
You think an 8 wins now?
I don't know, but it increases it. I think you got to take it a week-by-week basis. But certainly, they didn't have a win like this with the depth like this because don't forget, these guys went out last week. Right? And Kalani basically criticized them for saying they should have come out earlier. I mean, when they were in the second half and doing their thing, they had some stuff there. Obviously, Davis was a critical component, and then they didn't run the quarterback last year for fear of injury, and that wasn't really Slovis's game anyway. But it's clear they don't want Retzlaff to get hurt, obviously, but they're willing to risk it if that's what it takes to move the ball, which is what they did. So you can look at it last year versus this year, and to me, the position that they're in this year is much better than last year, even if the record is exactly the same.
I can see where you're going with that. And I definitely think that, well, Retzlaff is a better runner than Slovis, and they've got a lot more confidence in Bohannon as a backup this year than they had as Retzlaff as the backup last year.
That's what I said.
Right. DJ and PK.
Hashtag college football.
this is the first time in my 3 years as a head coach that we have won the big game early in the season, right? 2 losses to Ohio State, and then all of a sudden we win, and everybody says, hey, you're going to the playoffs, you got an easy schedule. We all hear it, and I think we started to believe that. There is a physical approach to preparing for a game, and I think physically we prepared the right way, but there's also a mental approach and a mindset that you have to have every single week, and I think that's where we failed.
There's Marcus Freeman laying out what the Irish did wrong and why they lost at home to Northern Illinois after winning the opener to Texas A&M.
They lost to Marshall. This is who they are. Unfortunately for them, this is who they are.
And they're going to keep doing it? Got another one of these in them?
This is what they've been.
In the 12-team playoff, if this is the now they do have quality teams at the end. I mean, they got to play USC at the end of the season. I think Louisville's the other game that's been identified as a big game on their schedule. Will they botch another easy one? Because at 11-1, they're no longer doomed with one loss, even a bad loss early.
Well, if they botch another easy one, it doesn't really matter whether they win or lose it, because they're going to have to beat these other good teams.
Texas Longhorns coach Steve Sarkisian said he cautioned his team against the, quote, Notre Dame scenario, and reminded his players that we're entitled to nothing as they come off a big win at Michigan. Texas, don't go down that slippery slope. Don't lose an easy game. Wreck everything. Oklahoma State star linebacker Colin Oliver will miss at least a month with a foot injury. The 3-time All-Big 12 selection was hurt in the first half of the win over Arkansas. Obviously a big deal for the Utes since they're playing them in 2 weeks.
Which Oliver would you rather have out for Oklahoma State? Gordon or Colin?
Well, they're both all conference, neither one. I don't know what kind of depth they've got a linebacker and who they plug in there.
They got dudes.
They got dudes?
Yeah, they got dudes.
Okay, well, if they got dudes at linebacker, then I guess you'd rather miss Colin because I don't think they have another Ollie Gordon.
Well, people say, well, Colin.
Okay, you're just going stream of consciousness on names now. DJ and PK.
Hashtag NBA.
Lakers forward Christian Wood underwent an arthroscopic surgical procedure on his left knee Monday and be reevaluated by team doctors in approximately 8 weeks. He missed the last 2 months of last season and had a similar procedure in March. And Knicks owner James Dolan said in a letter to the NBA he plans to vote no on the league's proposed operating budget for the upcoming season and the election of a new Board of Governors chair. Dolan has been vocal about his belief that the NBA's revenue-sharing policies and the move to streaming punish big market teams by redistributing the money they earn, in large part through local media rights and sponsorships, to less successful franchises at a disproportionate rate and crippling the regional sports network's viability. No more money for the Utah Jazz and the Indiana Pacers. Let's keep it all for the Lakers and the Knicks.
That could be a political speech right there.
It is. It's often been noted the owners are capitalists until it's time to share the money, and then they're socialists.
Oh, everybody is. It's like the diversity. I'm all for it unless you take my job.
Hey, now.
I'm the only one who's willing to say it.
DJ and PK.
Hashtag Major League Baseball.
2-1, driven deep right field, way back and gone. Goodbye. Oh, what a shot by Austin Wells halfway up the bleachers. There were rookie catchers, and there's what Austin Wells is doing right now. That's a titanic 3-run blast to give the Yankees a 7-4 lead.
Here is Cody Bellinger. Driving one in the air, deep right field. Get out the tape measure, long gone. Cubs lead 2-0. Welcome back to Dodger Stadium, Cody Bellinger. Wow.
The 1-0. Swing and a ground ball through. It's over. Cody Clemens wins it with a walk-off single to right. And the Phillies beat the Rays 2-1.
Highlights around Major League Baseball in there. You heard Austin Wells going deep for the Yankees as they beat the Royals 10-4. The Yankees trying to hold off the Orioles and win the division. They got a 1.5 game lead in the East. The Dodgers, Cody Bellinger is back at Dodger Stadium. They win 10-4. Cubs bouncing around 500. Don't look like they're going to make it to the playoffs. But the Mets' late season run yielding results, PK. They are a game in front of the Braves now for the last wild card. They've run them down. Mets beat the Blue Jays 3-2, and the Braves lost to the Reds 1-0. They got shut out on 2 hits.
Huh.
Will Atlanta squeeze in or not in the wild card race?
Tune in tomorrow at the same time.
Bees open their final series of the season tonight in El Paso against the final road series. They got 2 weeks left. They got 1 series at home still. Final road series there in El Paso against the Chihuahuas. First pitch set for 6:35. Tony Park's on the air at 6:20. That is what is trending, brought to you by Shamrock Plumbing. There's no job too big or too small. Get the personal touch with Shamrock Plumbing. Coming up at 8 o'clock, Frank Dolce, former U quarterback. 8:30, Shehan Jayaraja, national college football writer for CBSSports.com, will join us at 8:30. And it's Cafe Real Taco Tuesday. We're giving away free food. We'll do that coming up in the 8 o'clock hour. DJ and PK, the question of the day is next. Stay with us.